So greetings from Aotea, Great Barrier. This is an update. I bring the greetings from Izzy Fordham, who was our last chairman of our local board, who made the application. We are very thankful she was re-elected. We are crossing our fingers that she might well be chair again. She sends her best wishes. She can't be here today because she's preparing for the inauguration. Thanks particularly from the barrier's point of view to Auckland Astronomy Association and to astronomers. The support they have given us by way of astronomers, assistance, demonstrations, willingness to help, guidance has been simply awesome, and we can't thank them enough. So, the first group of 4 people were very, very focused. We did it in a very short time. We had a specialist in marketing, project management, and general cultural, historical aspects, which are important. We had a planning expert, which I sort of filled that role, and we had an astronomer, and we had a general reviewer assistant who kept us all on the right path. That focus was necessary to do it in the time. But we had to change. As soon as we got the status, we obviously had to look at the primary issue was governance. How were we to be governed? Were we to go down the charitable trust, a la Tekapo, or was it more logical for a small place like ours to go through the political process with the local board? In the end, we chose the local board, and we created an informal advisory committee to the local board that keeps the pressure on, gets the funding, makes the arguments, and gets things done. Second, and this was our primary focus, the hearts and minds of our community. The barrier has 1,000 people. This will come as a surprise, but they're not all astronomers. In fact, we could probably say there were 1 astronomer, 2 or 3 serious amateur astronomers, and other than that, a lot of people who thought it was nice to go out and see 5 pretty things at night. So we were not very different from most of New Zealand. But the economic drivers of Tekapo and the necessity of creating an economy on Great Barrier made us reshape and rethink. So we created the Dark Sky Advisory Group, not taking ourselves too seriously and calling it DAG. Its primary function was initially to get funding. And this was not difficult. If you do a very simple back-of-the-envelope test, as I did when I was asking for my first 20,000, and simply said to the board, okay, someone goes out at night on Great Barrier, they spend $200. Multiply that by 100. Multiply that by 1,000. Multiply that by 10,000. Can I have $20,000, please? It was not a difficult calculation. And even though the board has numerous demands on its funding, they accepted that and generously have provided about $20,000 funding to the committee to promote, to look at governance, to do all the things that we feel on a regular basis the barrier needs to do to protect its dark skies. Now, when we say protect, it's really easy to be virtuous if you don't have any lights to start with. And we're in that category. We don't have any reticulated power, so we go to the board, we go to the council, and we can boast of how pure we are, how little light we have. The secret is we can't have it anyway. Finding out who our stakeholders really are has been an awkward thing on the barrier. We have the usual groups of stakeholders, interested groups, interested astronomers, members of the public, iwi, the Department of Conservation, which essentially manages close to 50% of the entire land mass of the barrier. But they're actually not people who are going to make a dark sky sanctuary successful or continue. You have to win the grassroots and the hearts and minds. Summed up best perhaps when I was waiting for fish and chips at one of the local establishments and sat down with some locals. One of them asked me, so this dark sky stuff, we're going to get a lot of regulations and rules and you're going to make it hard for us to live on the island, are you? And the instant answer was, well, probably. The second answer, though, is the most important. He said, well, if I did that, what would be your response? It would probably be to buy a 1940 big telescope and shine it right up, as bright as you can. Because the island is very, very, very individualistic and very independent. No one will push the island around. So I said the answer really is, what do you think from a common sense point of view you should do? A pause. Okay, let's talk about it. And that was what we were after. So what activities? Well, the regulatory one is, it's the area that I think is the most important. Auckland, we're very fortunate that the Auckland Unitary Plan pretty well adopted the zone model that the IDA recommends, or at least put in the model lighting ordinance. The difficulty is, all that does is define zones. As those of you who are dealing with applications will find out, there's a huge difference between what is in the high-level documents, like zoning, and the actual application documents, which is what's in the detail of the plans. And that's where often you fall apart. Auckland, of course, is an enormous city by New Zealand standards, and it's growing at an enormous rate. So the barrier is way down the list of their concerns. But this is a constant monitoring process, and the relationship we have with the council and with the local board is important. And the advantage of being part of a local board is that we have an automatic mandate to speak at council. And that's been very important. Second, we're lucky we still have Nalini on tap. She's created a longitudinal SQM study for the entire time that we've been there, and I gather is publishing shortly. This has been critical. We are able probably to come out and talk to the council seriously about what light factors are and get the science right, as opposed to more amateurs like myself going out there with a little measurement and beeping and coming up with pious thoughts. But outreach, well, over the time we've been going, we've had something in the order of 40 astronomy-related activities aimed at our local community. The DAG committee has organised 2 festivals of about 13 activities each, and Nalini and Anne Sprague, our resident astronomer, organised this year another festival on commemorating the moon landings. Total is giving us almost, to my view, is almost in the level of overkill in terms of the amount of information about the dark sky and astronomy for an island of 1,000 people. And promotion. If you think you can control the PR statements, dream on. My wife and I were overseas when we got notice that the island had achieved its dark sky sanctuary status. By the time we got back, we had already been fielding information requests from international newspapers, from international tourist providers, from hotel providers, and that has largely continued. As a result of that, we think very hard to get accurate figures on the island, but sort of tourist increases in the realm of about 30% spread over a wider period into the shoulder seasons, which is ideal. That seems to be about the figure we're looking at. And where the uptake has been most prominent has been in Asia, but also Europe. And my wife and I met a gentleman on a boat. He'd been to New Zealand the previous 3 months. And then when he got back in The Independent, read an article that they'd sent a journo over to do about the latest little dark sky sanctuary on the world, which was our dinky little island off the coast of Auckland. So he'd come all the way back because he had to just check this out. And he spent 3 days on the island checking us out. Now, that's been a very large, that has helped create, I think, a massive wave of goodwill towards this approach, towards our island being a dark sky sanctuary. So where are we? We've created 5 new businesses. Representative of one of them is here, I think, Carol Comer, who's an exquisite, Carol here, an exquisite night photographer. Talk to Carol if you want some classy photographs. A Earth and Sky lookalike, and thanks to Earth and Sky for providing us with business training. We've got widespread community acceptance, and we are on a strong basis of longitudinal studies of sky quality. But we wouldn't be Aucklanders without saying there are issues. And the biggest issue is Auckland. Now, there's the barrier. That's 85 kilometres from the epicentre of the light focus of Auckland. Auckland's biggest growth pattern at the moment is south, coming through the Pukekohe area, but within the last 3 years, this area here, Ariwa, has been dominated by housing infill, and up to Pakiri, Lee and Warkworth is the next big growth zone. Coming from the other direction, Whangarei and the areas there, which is the scheduled area for industrialisation. Which brings me to the last of the points. Leverage. I think we're too defensive. We are trying to protect by saying you have to use this light, not that light. We should in fact go the other way. We should use the fact that we have sanctuaries as an immense hammer to beat the councils, the regional authorities and the government to create policy statements at a high level that mean light protection and dark sky protection is essential. Now, when I was preparing the application, I was trying to find existing legislation that might work in getting it past John Barrentine. I tried the outstanding natural landscapes approach and failed. Apart from about 3, I think, sentences within various high-level policy statements under the RMA, we have no high-level protection for the dark sky. So I'll toss out an idea. We need an outstanding natural nightscape policy statement. Thanks.